he was talking about how many inches between the lines and all this stuff. And I was not ready to receive that at that time. I was just not ready to receive that. I was just struggling to get the distance down pat. All right. So now I kind of have that down pat. So now I'm looking at the ways to be a little, I mean, I play with people who just are knocking them in left and right, these sidewinders. So I'm like, do they have a magic formula that I don't have or what? I don't know.
Well, I mean, so if you look at the lines, the distance between each line, right?
Yeah.
Is 1 inch of elevation change, right? I mean, that by itself doesn't mean a whole lot, right? But if you look here, you're going to have less break where I am right through here.
Because they're farther away.
Than you would here because they're
closer.
They're a lot closer, right? So
okay.
I think it probably the best way to put it is I think it takes a little time to kind of get used to the feel of the putting. So, for example, if we take a look at this putt right here, right? Where we are, we can see the lines are a lot closer together, right?
Right.
You might not can see me because we're on top of each other, but...
Yeah, I can see them.
I mean, you might not be able to see me.
Oh, I can't see you. Should I move?
Yep. If you zoom out a little bit, you'll be able to see me. Yeah, there you go.
All right.
So, you can see the lines are closer where we are.
That's right.
But the one thing to remember is the beginning of the putt, we're going to be hitting it harder, right? So it's not going to be breaking as much.
That's right.
You know, the faster the ball goes, the less it's going to break. So if we look all the way up to the hole, we can see these lines are further apart.
Right.
But we're probably actually going to experience a pretty smooth break right to left the whole way. Because in the beginning, our putt's going to be faster, so it's not going to be breaking as much. And as we get to the end and it slows down, it's going to probably be breaking about the same amount because it's going slower, but the lines are further apart, right? If the lines were close together the whole way, you would see a slow break, and then you would see it start to dive. And to kind of give you the difference, like, because this one's breaking one way the whole way. So with fast, we're probably looking at a line somewhere around maybe here. Right, very fast. Our line's probably going to be out here. In pro, we'd probably be somewhere up here.
Right.
Now these lines are somewhat close together. Like on pro, by the time our ball gets, if we try and nestle the ball into the hole, by the time our ball gets here on pro, we'll probably be going at about an 80-degree angle. Right. On very fast, we're probably coming about this angle, and then on fast, we're probably coming more from straight at it. So I'll show you a putt here. So I'm probably aiming on this one about 3 or 4 cups out to the right. It all depends on it, and it all depends on how you want to do it. So like, if the reason why this is one I would choose to be more focused on the speed and die in the hole is because if I go 2 or 3 feet past, look at my lines, right? If I go 2 or 3 feet past and it breaks and I'm here, now I've got to put where I have to put it outside the hole. Right? Yeah. Maybe not on fast, but I might have to put this just outside the hole. So my goal when I'm putting a putt like this is to make sure I don't have to think about the next putt. Right?
That's right.
So let's see, what are we? We're 0.6 downs. This is going to run pretty quick.
That's pretty fast, 0.6 down, yeah.
Yeah. So again, like I said, once you get past about 20 feet, how far you put it out is always going to depend on the speed. Right? It's not on fast greens. It's not going to be such a big difference, but like on very fast and pro, it certainly would be. So I'm going to put this a few cups out to the right and just give it a little putt here. Oh, a little bit of a glitch. It kind of threw me off there. All right, but anyway, so I was focused on speed, so that's going to be a very easy putt for me to make. Right. I'm just going to tap that in. Okay. Not going to have to worry about it.
Right.
So what is your read? What do you think you've got here?
Oh, I definitely see it right to left, but that's see, I would play it. I would definitely go probably a foot to the right. Get in.
Yep. See, that's a good putt. And see, that's got a little bit of speed on it. What are you about?
That
6
has a
or
little
7?
bit of speed on it. Yes. So I'm not real happy that I'd have to make that, but I'm better at these than I used to be.
Yeah. So see, on fast greens, that's going to be pretty close. So let me try and put this one down here. So one of the first things that I always try to do is make sure that I get the speed
look at
right.
that.
Right.
Oh my
so
God. I hate you.
well, look. Part of the thing is well, there's two things here. One, I had a really good idea what the break was like because of the first putt that I hit, and
Right.
and the second one is, you know, the more you do this, the better you're going to get at the speed. So I look at it in two ways. First and foremost, I never ever want a 3-putt, right? So
Oh gosh. It's awful.
if you feel like you don't have the speed of putts down, I would say that's probably the first place you want to go. I would say anytime inside of 40 feet, and forget let's say you're on Wolf Creek and you're putting through nothing but red. Forget about those. But like these putts, putts that that break but that aren't super horrible, and there's no red involved and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Anytime inside of
Mild. That was mild. Yeah.
yeah, anything inside of 40 feet, you've got to feel very confident that it's like, yeah, well, my next putt, if I miss this, is going to be close to a tap in, right, or something I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of strategy too here, right? So like if this is not breaking too much right to left, but if you're ever looking at a break, one of the things that I do is if I'm not convinced of the actual break, and I'm like, oh, do I put it to this point or do I put it out a little more? I tend to not put it out a little more because I would much rather leave myself an uphill putt coming back for my cleanup
Right.
than a downhill putt. Right. So if I do have a sidewinder putt that's a pretty bad sidewinder putt, and I know it's gonna almost be coming down at the hole from the top by the time I'm play, first and foremost I'm putting it for speed, right? And
Right.
I'm trying to do almost the die in the whole thing, because what I don't want is to try and hit it through the break and then have an 8 or 10 foot comebacker that's just as bad. Try and either just die it at the hole, which gives me, at least as far as the break goes, a wider berth of what's the word I'm looking for? Or more margin of error, right?
Okay.
Because if I'm 3 feet above the hole to 3 feet below the hole, more straight, that gives me a 6 foot margin of error where I feel, very comfortable with that putt.
Right. Right.
But if I get the the speed wrong, but the line right, and I just miss it on the right edge, like a good putt, but then it goes 8 feet by. If you're focused on if you put a good focus on speed, if you get really good with speed, your margin of error becomes really good, right? Because if you've got a 50-foot putt, and you're like, well, I'm pretty sure I've got the speed on this. I mean, you could miss it 3 feet to either side of the cup, and you're still going to have no
You're
longer
still
than a 3-foot putt, right? So, I mean,
Right.
that's the first thing, right? The second thing then is kind of finding that break, and the third part is what I call the feel part, is putting it all together, right? Because you
Right.
gotta factor in things like the uphill, the downhill. Like a 40-foot putt going a foot uphill is a much different speed than a 40-foot putt going downhill.
Oh, for sure. Right.
And
right.
even with the exact same lines, that downhill putt, you're probably going to be putting a foot further out to the right probably than you are the uphill putt, because you're hitting the uphill putt harder, and it's going to not take that break.
Not take the break.
So like
Uh-huh.
I said, you get the inches. You got 1 inch of elevation change between the lines, right?
Okay,
And
yeah, that's
great.
what I
But-
didn't know. 1 inch of elevation change.
Yeah, but
between the
by
lines.
itself,
But what
it doesn't.
does that? Yeah, what does that really?
It doesn't
help
really
them?
mean anything by itself. It's more of a comparison, right? So I would say if you're really trying to learn what these lines do, come to a place like this where you get the lines that are not super close. Like, we don't want them to be close like they are over there, where you start to get start to get the red shading, and the
Yeah.
darker the red
Oh,
it
yeah.
is, the more severe
yeah.
it is.
Right.
So the red really doesn't mean anything as far as the lines go. The red just means, hey, I'm pointing out to you that these lines are really close together, and the darker I am, the closer they are together. So I would say if you're trying to get reads, the lines that you see right here apart, around the hole. This is a good place to start. Master this. Right? Get yourself 30-foot putts and master a break-in putt that has the lines about like this. And so, if you're like, okay, I got a 30-foot putt, I know these lines, I know my speed, let's, assume it's flat. I know that's going to be for me about 2 cups out to the right on that putt. Well, once you get that down pat, if the lines are twice as close together, you can be pretty sure that you're probably going to be 4 cups out to the right on that putt, right? Or maybe a little more if you're putting a little less speed on it. But you start to get, if you can find a really good rhythm of reading lines that are a certain length apart, then you can use that as kind of like your comparison. So you can go, hey, these lines are further apart than what I'm really good at, so I'm going to play less break. And you might say, oh, well, these lines are, a lot closer together than what I'm really good at, so I'm going to play more break. And over time, you'll start to get a real good feel for the lines. So like I said, it's not that you need to remember, okay, they're an inch apart. The 1 inch elevation change doesn't mean too much unless you get good enough to where, for example, if you see a putt that's, say, 0.5 downhill, right? That's not 5 inches. That's half a foot. So that would be 6 inches, right? So if you can think of it that way. You can say, well, 6 inches of elevation change, I know how much speed I have to take off. So you can try and correlate that to break. But I don't really do that too much. Like I said, I'm really good at reading break that's about like this, right? With the lines that are here, about a couple of stances wide. And I can use that as my comparison. So the closer they get, the further out I know I have to go. So regardless of my putt, I can look at it. If I've got a left or right breaker, I can say, okay, if the lines are about this far apart, I know where I would put it. Now, how close are the lines? Are they wider than that? Are they closer than that? And I'll kind of adjust my read